There is a kind of strength that does not need to announce itself. It does not shout, threaten, or constantly prove its power. It enters a room quietly and changes the atmosphere because people sense that this person is not easily controlled. This is the power of being calm when everyone else is losing control. Control your emotions before they control the room, because one of the most powerful forms of strength is the ability to remain calm when everyone else is losing control. People often believe power is demonstrated through loud voices, aggressive gestures, or immediate reactions, but uncontrolled emotion can actually reveal weakness. When someone provokes you and you instantly become angry, they have discovered a button they can press. When criticism makes you defensive, another person can influence your behavior simply by choosing the right words. When pressure causes you to panic, your decisions become predictable. Real composure begins when you stop allowing external events to dictate your internal state. This does not mean becoming emotionless. Emotions contain information, and anger, fear, disappointment, and excitement are natural human experiences. The goal is not to eliminate them, but to prevent them from becoming your master. When you feel anger rising, create a pause between the emotion and the response. That pause may last only a few seconds, but it can completely change the outcome of a situation. Instead of immediately answering, breathe, observe, and ask yourself what response will serve your interests best. A person who can pause while others react gains an enormous advantage because they have time to think while everyone else is being driven by impulse. Calmness also changes how others perceive you. When someone expects you to become emotional and you remain composed, they are forced to reconsider their strategy. They cannot easily predict you because you are not giving them immediate emotional signals. This does not mean deliberately trying to intimidate people. It means developing enough self-control that your behavior remains steady under pressure. The strongest presence in a difficult room is often not the loudest person, but the person who does not need to prove anything. Imagine someone insulting you in front of others. The instinct may be to defend yourself immediately, raise your voice, or attack them in return. But reacting emotionally may give the other person exactly what they wanted. A calmer response can be more powerful because it demonstrates that their words do not control you. You can answer firmly without becoming reckless. You can disagree without becoming hostile. You can leave without creating unnecessary drama. Your calmness communicates that you are choosing your response rather than being dragged into one. This principle becomes even more important when making decisions. Fear can make you abandon opportunities. Anger can make you destroy relationships. Excitement can make you commit too quickly. Desperation can make you accept conditions you would normally reject. Emotional control gives you enough distance to examine the situation before acting. Ask what is actually happening rather than what your emotions are telling you is happening. Ask what outcome you want. Ask what action will move you closer to that outcome. Then respond deliberately. Calmness is also developed through preparation. If you regularly practice difficult conversations, manage your responsibilities, maintain healthy routines, and expose yourself to reasonable challenges, pressure becomes less unfamiliar. You learn that discomfort does not automatically mean danger. The more situations you successfully handle, the less easily your nervous system is overwhelmed by uncertainty. This creates a quiet confidence that does not require constant demonstration. You become comfortable with silence, comfortable with disagreement, and comfortable with not immediately knowing what to say. You can observe before acting. You can listen without feeling threatened. You can think while others are reacting. This is what makes calmness formidable. It is not the absence of strength, but strength under control. When your emotions belong to you rather than to whoever provokes them, you become harder to manipulate, easier to trust, and more capable of making decisions that serve your long-term interests. Stay silent when others expect a reaction, because silence can create a space where emotion loses its power and observation becomes possible. Most people underestimate how much information they reveal when they react immediately. A provocation can expose insecurity, anger, fear, impatience, or desperation within seconds. Someone makes an insulting comment and you rush to defend yourself. Someone questions your ability and you immediately explain your achievements. Someone ignores you and you send multiple messages demanding an explanation. In each situation, the reaction gives the other person information about what affects you. Silence interrupts that pattern. It does not mean you are weak, afraid, or incapable of responding. It means you refuse to surrender control of your behavior to another person's expectations. When someone wants a reaction, ask yourself why. Are they genuinely trying to solve a problem, or are they attempting to provoke emotion? These situations require different responses. If a serious issue needs to be addressed, communicate clearly. But if someone is simply trying to pull you into an unnecessary argument, silence can prevent you from wasting energy. You do not need to answer every accusation, every insult, or every opinion. Your attention is valuable, and giving it to every person who demands it can weaken your focus. Silence also gives you time to understand what is happening. When people speak, they reveal priorities, assumptions, intentions, and emotional states. If you immediately interrupt with your own reaction, you may miss valuable information. Listen carefully. Let the other person finish. Notice not only what they say, but how they say it. Are they calm? Are they exaggerating? Are they trying to make you defensive? Are they avoiding responsibility? The more you observe, the more accurately you can choose your response. This is particularly useful during conflict. Many arguments become worse because both people are preparing their next attack instead of listening. One person speaks, the other becomes angry, then responds with something harsher, and the cycle continues. A deliberate pause can break that cycle. You can say, I need a moment to think about that, rather than reacting from anger. That short pause can prevent words that cannot easily be taken back. Silence also protects your dignity. When you constantly defend yourself against every criticism, you may unintentionally communicate that every opinion has authority over you. Not every accusation deserves an explanation. Sometimes your behavior over time will answer a criticism more effectively than an argument ever could. If someone falsely claims that you are incapable, you do not always need to convince them otherwise. Continue developing your abilities. Let your results provide the evidence. This does not mean ignoring legitimate feedback. Wise people distinguish between useful criticism and deliberate provocation. If criticism contains truth, listen and improve. If it is merely designed to trigger you, do not reward it with emotional control. Silence should also never become a tool for manipulation or punishment. There is a difference between calm silence and deliberately ignoring someone to make them suffer. Healthy silence creates space for thought. Unhealthy silence creates confusion and emotional pressure. Use silence to regulate yourself, not to control another person. The ability to remain quiet becomes especially powerful when combined with confidence. You do not need to fill every silence because you are comfortable with yourself. You can sit with uncertainty without immediately demanding answers. You can allow another person to speak without feeling that you must dominate the conversation. You can wait until you understand the situation before committing yourself. This patience makes your words more meaningful because when you finally speak, you have chosen them deliberately. Develop the habit of pausing before responding when emotions are high. Breathe. Observe. Ask yourself whether a response is necessary, useful, and aligned with your values. If it is, speak clearly. If it is not, let the moment pass. The goal is not to become cold or distant. The goal is to become so internally steady that other people's attempts to provoke you no longer determine your behavior. Slow down when pressure increases, because pressure has a way of making people abandon the very qualities they need most. When something goes wrong, the natural reaction is often to move faster. You speak before thinking, make decisions without enough information, send messages while angry, accept the first solution available, or try to solve everything at once. The mind interprets pressure as an emergency, and suddenly speed feels like control. But rushing is not the same as acting decisively. Sometimes the fastest response creates the largest problem. Learning to slow yourself down under pressure gives you something extremely valuable: clarity. When everyone around you is reacting emotionally, the person who can remain deliberate has more opportunity to understand what is actually happening. This begins with controlling your breathing and physical response. When you feel your heart racing, your thoughts becoming scattered, or your body becoming tense, deliberately slow your breathing. Take a moment before speaking. This does not solve the problem by itself, but it creates enough distance between the situation and your reaction for your reasoning ability to return. A calm mind can examine possibilities that a frightened mind may ignore. You should also learn to separate urgency from importance. Not everything that feels urgent is truly important. Someone may demand an immediate answer, but that does not automatically mean you should provide one. A difficult decision involving money, relationships, work, or your future deserves careful thought, even when another person wants an answer immediately. You can say that you need time to consider the situation. A confident person does not allow someone else's impatience to dictate the speed of every decision. Slowing down also means asking better questions. Instead of immediately asking, "How do I fix this?" ask, "What exactly happened? What do I know for certain? What am I assuming? What is within my control? And what happens if I choose this option?" These questions reduce emotional confusion and turn a vague crisis into specific problems. Once a problem becomes specific, it becomes easier to manage. Pressure often becomes worse because people try to solve imagined problems alongside real ones. Your mind may create 10 possible disasters when only one issue actually exists. Return to facts. Deal with what is happening now. Do not suffer 10 times for possibilities that may never occur. Another important part of slowing down is protecting your words. Under pressure, people often reveal too much. They explain their entire position, make unnecessary promises, or say something cruel because they want immediate relief. Words spoken during emotional intensity can create consequences long after the emotion disappears. If you are angry, delay the response when possible. If you are uncertain, admit that you need time. If someone pressures you to speak immediately, remember that silence is an option. You can think without announcing every thought. This does not mean avoiding responsibility. Sometimes emergencies genuinely require immediate action. In those moments, slowing down mentally does not mean becoming passive. It means becoming organized, identify the priority, take the necessary action, and avoid adding unnecessary chaos. A skilled emergency responder does not panic simply because the situation is serious. They focus on the next useful action. You can develop the same principle in ordinary life. When a problem appears, ask what must be handled first. Complete that step, then move to the next. Do not allow the entire future to overwhelm the present moment. Pressure also reveals your preparation. If you consistently build skills, maintain organized routines, and think through possible difficulties before they occur, you become less vulnerable to panic. Preparation creates familiarity, and familiarity reduces fear. You cannot predict everything, but you can strengthen your ability to respond. The goal is not to eliminate pressure from your life. That is impossible. The goal is to remain mentally organized while pressure is present. When everyone else speeds up, slow your thinking. When emotions rise, lower your voice. When uncertainty appears, gather information. When people demand immediate reactions, create space to decide. Your calmness becomes more powerful when it is supported by deliberate action. The person who can remain composed under pressure does not need to control every circumstance. They only need to control their next decision. Let your presence speak before your words, because real composure does not depend on constantly explaining yourself, proving your intelligence, or demanding attention. People form impressions before a conversation fully develops. They notice how you enter a room, how you carry yourself, whether you appear rushed, how you listen, how comfortable you are with silence, and how you respond when attention moves towards you. This does not mean you should try to intimidate people through artificial behavior. It means developing an internal steadiness that becomes visible through your actions. A person who is comfortable with themselves does not need to dominate every conversation. They can sit quietly without appearing uncomfortable. They can listen without interrupting. They can speak slowly enough for their words to be understood. They can disagree without becoming emotional. These small behaviors communicate confidence more effectively than exaggerated displays of power. Presence begins with attention. When you enter a conversation while constantly checking your phone, looking around nervously, or preparing your next statement instead of listening, people sense that your attention is divided. When you give someone your full attention, you communicate that you are not easily distracted. Look at the person when appropriate. Listen carefully. Notice their tone and expressions. Do not rush to fill every silence. Being present means allowing yourself to fully occupy the moment rather than constantly worrying about how you are being perceived. Your posture and movement also communicate information. You do not need to force a rigid or intimidating posture. Simply move with purpose instead of nervousness. Avoid unnecessary fidgeting. Do not rush across the room as though you are being chased by your own thoughts. Take your time when circumstances allow. Physical calm can support mental calm, and mental calm often becomes visible through physical behavior. Your voice matters as well. Speaking too quickly can make you appear anxious even when your ideas are strong. Speaking clearly and at a measured pace gives people time to understand what you are saying. Lowering your voice does not automatically create authority, but avoiding unnecessary shouting demonstrates control. The goal is not to sound intimidating. The goal is to sound deliberate. Presence also grows when you stop over-explaining yourself. If you make a reasonable decision, you do not always need to provide a 20-minute defense. Explain what is necessary, answer legitimate questions, and move forward. Over-explaining can sometimes communicate that you are seeking permission rather than simply communicating your position. Confidence allows you to accept that some people may disagree with you. You can clarify your reasoning without desperately trying to make everyone approve of it. Another important element is emotional consistency. If you are calm when everything is going well but become chaotic when challenged, people will notice the difference. Strong presence is built when your behavior remains reasonably steady across different circumstances. You can be firm without becoming aggressive. You can be kind without becoming submissive. You can be serious without becoming cold. This balance creates a sense of reliability. People know what to expect from you because you are not constantly changing based on whoever has the strongest personality in the room. Presence also comes from competence. You cannot create lasting authority through posture alone. If you want people to respect your presence, develop something worth respecting. Become knowledgeable. Prepare before important situations. Keep your commitments. Make decisions carefully. When your behavior repeatedly demonstrates competence, your presence gains substance. People pay attention because your actions have earned credibility. You should also understand that presence does not mean being the center of attention. Sometimes the strongest person in a room speaks the least because they are observing. They allow others to reveal their priorities, assumptions, and intentions. Then, when they speak, their words have greater weight because they are responding to what they have actually heard. This is especially useful during meetings, negotiations, or difficult conversations. Listen first. Understand the environment, then contribute with purpose. Do not compete for attention simply because silence makes you uncomfortable. Let your calmness create space around you. Over time, this becomes a form of quiet authority. You are not demanding respect. You are demonstrating qualities that naturally encourage it. Your presence should communicate that you are attentive, prepared, emotionally controlled, and comfortable with yourself. When those qualities become genuine rather than performed, you no longer need to force an intimidating image. People notice the stability on their own. Never reveal fear through impulsive behavior because fear itself is not weakness, but allowing fear to dictate your actions can make you easier to influence and can cause you to make decisions that you later regret. Every person experiences fear. The difference between a composed person and an impulsive person is often what happens after fear appears. One person immediately reacts, while the other creates enough space to think. Fear can make you speak too quickly, explain yourself unnecessarily, retreat from opportunities, attack someone who seems threatening, or make promises simply to escape an uncomfortable situation. The emotion arrives first, but you still have a choice about what happens next. The first step is recognizing the physical signs of fear without becoming controlled by them. Your heart may race, your breathing may change, your hands may become tense, or your thoughts may suddenly become focused on everything that could go wrong. These reactions are normal. Instead of fighting them desperately, acknowledge them. Take a breath. Slow your movements. Give yourself time to process what is happening. The goal is not to pretend that you are fearless. It is to prevent fear from making decisions on your behalf. One of the most common ways people reveal fear is through excessive explanation. They feel challenged, so they immediately begin defending themselves, listing their achievements, justifying their decisions, or trying to convince everyone that they are competent. Sometimes explanation is necessary, but excessive explanation can communicate insecurity. If you have made a reasonable decision, explain it clearly when appropriate, then allow your actions to speak. You do not need to win every person's approval. Fear can also appear as aggression. Some people become angry when they feel threatened because anger temporarily makes them feel powerful. They attack before anyone can question them. But impulsive aggression often reveals exactly what the person is trying to hide. If someone insults you and you immediately explode, they learn that they can control your emotional state. A calmer response protects your freedom to choose what happens next. You can be firm without becoming reckless. You can establish a boundary without shouting. You can leave a situation without proving that you are stronger. Another way fear becomes visible is through desperate decisions. When people fear losing an opportunity, relationship, position, or approval, they may accept conditions they would normally reject. They say yes when they want to say no. They reveal information because they are afraid someone will leave. They rush into commitments because they fear missing out. In these moments, pause and ask what you would choose if you were not afraid of the immediate consequence. That question can expose whether the decision reflects your values or simply your anxiety. Preparation is another way to reduce fear-driven behavior. You cannot prepare for every possible event, but you can strengthen your skills, knowledge, finances, routines, and communication abilities. The more capable you become, the less likely uncertainty is to overwhelm you. Confidence is not believing that nothing can go wrong. It is believing that you can respond intelligently when something does go wrong. You should also stop trying to eliminate every uncomfortable emotion before acting. Waiting until fear disappears may mean waiting forever. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the ability to take appropriate action while fear is present. Speak when you need to speak. Set the boundary when necessary. Take the opportunity when it aligns with your values. Ask the question you have been avoiding. Do it calmly rather than impulsively. Your goal is to make your behavior communicate stability, even when your internal experience is intense. This does not require pretending to be emotionless. You can acknowledge fear privately, seek advice. When appropriate, pray, reflect, and prepare yourself before responding. The strongest person is not the one who never feels afraid. It is the person who can feel fear without immediately handing it the steering wheel. When you stop allowing fear to dictate your words, movements, and decisions, you become more deliberate. You begin responding to reality rather than reacting to imagination. That is where genuine composure develops. Fear may still appear, but it no longer has automatic authority over your behavior. Become unshakable without becoming cruel, because true strength is not measured by how much fear you can create in other people, but by how well you can control yourself when circumstances become difficult. Some people misunderstand strength and believe that being powerful means becoming cold, aggressive, intimidating, or emotionally unavailable. They try to make others uncomfortable because they think fear equals respect. But fear-based influence is unstable. People may obey someone because they are afraid, but they rarely develop genuine respect for that person. Real inner strength is different. It allows you to remain calm without becoming heartless, firm without becoming aggressive, and confident without needing to humiliate anyone. Being unshakable begins with developing an internal center that does not depend completely on other people's approval. If every criticism changes your mood, every rejection destroys your confidence, or every disagreement makes you question your worth, other people have too much control over your emotional state. You cannot prevent people from judging you, misunderstanding you, or disagreeing with you. You can decide how much authority their opinions have over your life. Listen when criticism contains something useful. Learn when you discover a mistake. But do not surrender your identity to every opinion you encounter. Emotional stability also requires accepting that uncertainty is part of life. You will not always know what happens next. Plans will fail, people will change, opportunities will disappear. Some situations will remain outside your control. An unshakable person does not expect life to become predictable. They develop the ability to remain grounded while circumstances change. This is why preparation matters. Build skills, maintain your responsibilities, strengthen your relationships with trustworthy people, take care of your physical and mental energy, develop habits that keep you stable when circumstances become difficult. The more prepared you are, the less likely you are to collapse when something unexpected happens. At the same time, do not become obsessed with controlling everything. Control what belongs to you, your actions, decisions, words, boundaries, preparation, and response. Other people's behavior belongs to them. You can influence people, communicate clearly, and establish limits, but you cannot guarantee that everyone will behave exactly as you want. Accepting this reality reduces unnecessary frustration. Being unshakable also means learning to walk away. Not every conflict deserves your energy. Not every insult deserves an answer. Not every relationship deserves unlimited access to your life. Sometimes strength is choosing not to participate. You can leave an argument before it becomes destructive. You can distance yourself from repeated disrespect. You can decline an opportunity that violates your values. Walking away does not always mean surrender. Sometimes it means recognizing that your peace is more valuable than winning a meaningless battle. But do not confuse calmness with passivity. Being unshakable means you can act when action is necessary. If someone crosses a serious boundary, communicate clearly. If a responsibility must be handled, handle it. If a difficult decision must be made, make it after considering the facts. Calmness should improve your decisions, not prevent you from making them. You should also resist the temptation to become cruel simply because you have been hurt. Pain can create a desire to make others suffer, especially when you believe that kindness made you vulnerable. But becoming cruel often means allowing the person who hurt you to change your character. You can learn from betrayal without becoming dishonest. You can learn from disrespect without becoming disrespectful. You can become more selective without becoming hateful. Strength should make your behavior more disciplined, not more destructive. The strongest form of composure is the ability to remain humane while maintaining boundaries. You can be kind without being easily manipulated. You can forgive without restoring unlimited access. You can care about someone without allowing them to control you. You can remain calm while saying no. You can protect yourself without seeking revenge. When you develop this balance, your strength becomes difficult to disturb because it does not depend on dominating others. It comes from knowing yourself, controlling your reactions, maintaining your standards, and choosing your actions deliberately. You become steady without becoming cold, powerful without becoming cruel, and confident without needing to frighten anyone. That is the kind of calm that does not need to announce itself.